Now I'm going to introduce to you our speakers. It's a very distinguished panel, and we will begin with the very Reverend Gary Hall, the Dean of Washington's National Cathedral, perhaps the prettiest cathedral in all of America.
Thank you. 15 years ago this month, Matthew Shepard was killed in Laramie, Wyoming. 3 years ago, last month, Tyler Clementi committed suicide, jumping off the George Washington Bridge in his freshman year at Rutgers University. The violence that is done against LGBT people is real. The violence that is done against LGBT children and youth by the culture, especially the culture of the faith community, and more specifically, the culture of certain kinds of Christianity, that violence is real. And it's really time for those of us who are not all like that, not only, as Dan Savage says, it's not time for us to whisper that anymore. It's really time for us to say that as loudly and as clearly as we can. I am proud to be the Dean of the Washington National Cathedral. A year ago now, we agreed that we would start doing same-sex weddings as a matter of policy. And I am proud to be in the Episcopal Church, which at its General Convention in 2012 approved a liturgy for same-sex blessings and where legal for same-sex weddings and marriages. So there is a movement within the Christian tradition, and I could point to other denominations like the United Church of Christ and, of course, the Metropolitan Community Church and the Unitarian Church and other faith communities in Reform Judaism and around the faith spectrum that have opened their hearts to LGBT people. But I want to say specifically a couple things about being a Christian. The first is that it is not just enough for us to say that we accept or embrace LGBT people. That's a good thing to say, and it's a good place to start. But actually, if you read the Bible critically and carefully, the way I read the Bible is that the God who made us made human beings in God's own image, and God made us and said that we are good. For us to say that we're good is to say that all of us is good, including our sexuality. Now, Western culture is fairly conflicted anyway about sexuality. And so it's been hard for Western culture to say that all sexuality is good. It's not said that very clearly even about heterosexuality. But as we move into the 21st century and we understand the importance of sexuality in the human personality and in the human makeup and the human psyche, it's really important for the church to say, first, that sexuality is good and that sexuality is a gift and that human beings are called to live out their sexuality freely, responsibly, and creatively and compassionately and ethically with other people. But secondly, it's even more important at this moment that Christian churches and people that read the Bible seriously say, homosexuality is not only not a sin, homosexuality is actually good because it is a gift. One's sexual orientation is the way one was made, and it is the gift that one has been given to reach out to and relate with other people. Certainly as a Christian, I believe that there are moral and relational constraints by which I exercise my sexuality. This is not an argument for profligacy or for promiscuity, but it is an argument for saying that the Christian church needs now to say not only that it's okay to be gay or lesbian or bisexual or transgendered, but it's good to be that way because that is the way that God has made you, and that we need to say that now as clearly and compassionately and straightforwardly as we can, because so many children and youth suffer in silence. So many children and youth are oppressed by their schools, by their families, and by their churches. And I can't do a lot about your nuclear family, and I can't do a lot about your school bullying. But I think if those of us in pulpits get up and say this unambiguously, It is not just okay to be gay, it is good to be gay, it is right to be gay. Just as it is good to be straight, it is good to be bisexual, it is good to be transgendered, it is good to be lesbian. If we can get up and say that with some clarity and some energy and some compassion, we will save lives. We will change the hearts of the people in our pews. We will stop the bullying and the kind of self-hatred that goes on that is inflicted on so many young people, and we will transform the culture of our country, the culture of our churches, and yes, even the culture of our families and our schools. So I'm very happy to be here today to be able to say this as unambiguously and as boldly as I can, as a Christian pastor, as a cathedral dean, as a baptized person, as a Christian human being. I have countless LGBT friends, and it is my firm belief that God's gift of our sexuality to all of us is a gift that all of us need to express responsibly, that all of us need to be thankful for. And yes, indeed, it is not only just okay to be gay or lesbian or bisexual or transgendered, it is positively good to be that way. Thank God for the gift of our sexuality, and thank God for people like Nault who are calling on Christians to speak as boldly as we can to save the lives of young people who are in such a crisis right now unless we speak out. Thanks very much.